Welcome back to the Driveway Beers podcast with Mike and Alex. As always, we appreciate you listening. Please rate us on all the podcast platforms. Like, subscribe, comment, share wherever else you're listening, and enjoy the show. All right, welcome back to another episode. We appreciate you coming back as always. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. If you do use Google Podcasts, I do believe that's done officially. So you might have to transfer over to YouTube Music, which I've just done, and it seems like a real shit show. So you might want to go over to Spotify, which has a much nicer user interface. Probably next couple weeks here, I'll probably talk about my experience with YouTube Music coming from Spotify, just to kind of give my 2 cents on it. Every once in a while, we like to give our experience of some apps, and Mike and I had talked about music streaming apps and which one was better. And I think Jeremy was here with us, and he's here now with me. Mike will be here in a couple minutes. And I don't think any of us had any real answers to that. Which one's the best streaming music service? I think you and Mike both said you use Apple.
Yeah, I have Apple.
Yeah, and he's got Apple, but I'm the lone Android holdout. I'm the green bubble in a chat group, if you will. But I'm going to give YouTube Music a try, just because every time I use YouTube for music, it sounds better in my car, but right now the user interface sucks. But I do want to thank Adam Chubbuck with Douglas Realty, TACMD.com. That's TACMD.com. Want to thank Adam. He signed up for another 6 months with the show, so we want to thank him. We're actually going to have him on, I want to say in the next 2 to 3 weeks, because I've wanted to do a financial episode for the longest time because of the last couple of years. The interest rates went up and affected home buying and affordability, car buying and car affordability. And Mike and I have really only touched on it just a little bit. So I've wanted to bring Adam on to talk about how it affects the real estate market, and just to see from his real life perspective how it's affecting young home buyers, old home buyers, who's buying, who's selling, because it doesn't seem like the market is slowing down, but it does seem like inventory is kind of, it seems like it's coming off the market faster than it's coming on. So we'll bring Adam on in the next couple of weeks, but I want to thank him for sponsoring the show the last 6 months and the next 6 months. We may or may not try a bourbon tonight, so if you're waiting for us to try one, I'm going to leave it up in the air over the next hour to see whether we try one or not. I've always got like 7 on the table when we record things here. We have another Penelope we can try. There's a Toasted here, which, if you've listened to Mike and I in the past, our Toasted reviews haven't gone very well. So I'm kind of interested to see how this one goes. They end up being, most Toasteds for us have ended up being really dry. Like you put them in your mouth, it's like a quick flavor hit, and then it's gone.
That's what she said.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And that's the last Penelope we've got. And for those that don't know, I know Mike Palladini personally from college. Mike started Penelope Bourbon with a buddy of his from Long Island, and they started this from scratch. I want to say 6 years ago, basically just mixing some bottles. And I know people are like, oh, mixers. No, it's hard to mix bourbons and whiskeys to make a really nice product. And so far of the 4 bottles we've tried, we've liked all of them. They're all very smooth to drink, which you can't say for a lot of bourbons out there. Some, going down, they don't feel great.
Well, it gets the job done. It just doesn't taste great.
Right. I mean, what's that? There are a lot of country songs written about the old number 7.
Yeah.
Right. Not because it tastes great. It's because it's cheap and it goes down. Right?
That's also what she said. Anyway, but no, like it's interesting though too, like to look at all the different things you guys have tried, because then you kind of get a flavor profile for the different bourbons and things that you like, and it's pretty easy to start scratching off some of the, like, I don't like that smoky flavor that you get in some, like, you can get it in some Japanese whiskeys where they taste like scotch almost. And even scotch for that matter. Like, I like certain ones, but there's some that it's just a little bit too what's the right word? Is it smoky? I don't know, peaty, whatever.
I wish I knew. Like, so Mike talks about Scotch a lot because his father-in-law likes Scotch. Mm-hmm. So when his father-in-law visits, they go down and they visit his in-laws. He'll have one with his father-in-law, but he hates it. He hates Scotch because of that. He calls it that peatiness to it, right? Yeah. I've never had a Scotch, so I can't speak on it. I wish I could remember which one. It was the Penelope Rosé cask finish. That's the oddest one I've ever tried. Everything else I've had has been a bourbon / whiskey. It's not. I haven't tried Canadian whiskey. I haven't tried Scotch, and I haven't. What's the other one? I can't think of the name. Sherry? Is that a bourbon?
Sherry wine? Is it bourbon and a sherry cask?
Sherry's wine?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm not talking right.
I mean, there might be a sherry, but I don't know. Like you're talking about this bourbon in a rosé cask. Like maybe you have one in a sherry cask. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe I could be way off. What was the Irish whiskey I've tried? But the Irish whiskey, my experience with that has been so far on the spectrum. Like, I feel like Jameson's okay, but like
Jameson's my favorite.
Like, but have you ever had one called Redbreast 12?
Yeah, I actually have a bottle of it in my house.
That to me is phenomenal for Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
I tried Conor McGregor.
Oh my God, you could start a car with that. It's awful.
Like, that shit's bad. Like, I can't believe, like, I imagine as a celebrity, you can't put out just shit. Like, Chris Stapleton put out that Traveler's whiskey, and you would think that guy literally just shat in people's mouths, like, with how they tore him to pieces. Like, people either hate him. Mike thinks it's great, which is surprising because Mike likes higher test.
Which one, the Travelers or the Proper 12?
The Travelers. Oh, we both hated Proper 12. Yeah. It's sitting on the shelf. If someone would take that from me, I would gladly give it to them. But like, I don't want to give it to someone and be like, "Why'd you give me this shit?"
Yeah.
Like, if anyone's in the local area and wants that, I will gladly give you that for free. But I don't want to give it to someone and be like, "Oh, here, this is great." No, it's
here, try this. Awful. It tastes like garbage.
Like, I think I could run my truck on it.
Yeah.
Like, it's an old, 20-year-old truck, 2004. It might be able to run on some of that.
And it's weird for me too because like I always got on people about. I'll give you an example. Like I said something to my brother one time where he was drinking Johnny Walker Blue, and it's what everybody was talking about. It's expensive. You got to have it. I drank it. And I'm like, I don't like it. I'd rather have Jameson. I'd rather pay, for a $30 bottle instead of paying $150 or whatever it is for this bottle when I don't like the way it tastes. I mean, you wouldn't go out. I don't eat a lot of fish. I'm not going to go out to a fancy ass restaurant and pay $70 for salmon, which I know I'm not going to like. So why wouldn't I just get the chicken tenders if it makes me happy?
I'm looking confused over here just because, is that blue bottle, the Johnny Walker Blue, is that the one they don't sell here in the States?
I don't know. Like, so you had the blue, like the blue, was the black the most expensive? Now I'm forgetting the way it goes. Black, red, blue, green. I think I think the green was the most expensive.
So, and this was 18 years ago, so I could be way off. But we went, for my honeymoon, my wife and I went to Bermuda on a cruise. It was a 5-day cruise. By the way, don't ever go on a cruise across the Atlantic in October. Mm-hmm. I think 75% of the ship was like throwing up.
Really?
It was that choppy. A coworker of mine, she was like, "Hey, would you mind picking me up 2 bottles of Johnny Walker Blue?" She's like, they don't sell it here. And I was like, sure, whatever. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't even drink this stuff back then. I was a straight beer guy back then. I brought it back and gave it to her. She was, "Oh, thanks. But I would imagine if someone's asking you to get it from overseas somewhere, it's either got to be really good or just really rare. So for me, it was just kind of an odd request at the time. But when you just brought it up, I'm like, have you had Blue? Like, is it
no.
Like phenomenal?
I don't think any of them are good. Like,
right,
so I don't like. I mean, it's hard for me. It's weird because Jameson was something. When I first tried Jameson, I didn't like it. I was playing in a really competitive basketball league at Johns Hopkins University, and we would always end up at PJ's Pub, the basically the John Hopkins bar over there where all the lacrosse guys would go and the football. I remember we were in there one night with the football team. We almost got into a fight. But like our basketball league would go back there and play beer pong, and we would play for shots. They had the 3 shots for $10, and they had all these goofy names like Scooby Doo, and they were just fruity ass shots, and we would take those. But the bartender, who was Irish, his name's Stephen Walsh. He does like trivia in town now. He's come on over and try Jameson, and I'm like, I've never had it before. Throw it back, and I'm like, oh. And then he gives me another one. Oh, I'll keep drinking it. And then all of a sudden, at some point, it's like your taste buds are comfortable with it. You rather enjoy it. I'm not saying it's, some things are acquired taste. And I think a lot of that is you got to try a lot of different alcohols to see what you like. Like I tried to get in and try some gin and see if it was something for me. And I'm still trying to figure that out or not because I'm indifferent to it. And then the same thing with, what did I just have? I just had my first Negroni.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, so it's a drink. It's got like some Campari in it. It's sweet and it's bitter.
Is it like Di Serono or something?
Like no. So a Negroni's like a mixed drink.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. But like it's the one thing that Anthony Bourdain. Like you ever heard his quote of all these things you got to do: talk to a stranger, get the white sauce. And one of the thing is have a Negroni, then have another one. Because I think it's one of those things where like the first time you drink it, you're like, I don't like this, and then you go out and you have another one, and you're like. It's a really weird taste, but it's kind of growing on me.
That's why I'm kind of like that with old fashions.
I love old fashions when they're right. I don't like the smokiness. Right, I don't like those smoky. Get that mesquite flavor away from me.
One of the things with the old fashioned for me, the bourbon that's in it makes a difference. And I don't mean that to say like you need a high end snobby one, but for example, like. Mike and I always talk about how like Angel's Envy doesn't have much of a flavor to it. Like it's not bad. It's very smooth. I think it's like $40 for it. If you get it at Costco for all the local people, go to DC, the Costco right over the line, and you could buy some bourbons over there. If you're in the Maryland area, like we are, went over there by the way. I mean, Costco is Disneyland for me anyway, but now imagine Disneyland with alcohol. Yeah, amazing, right? All right, so I go over there and I found Angel's Envy for $40. Picked it up. I've been hearing a lot about it. I want to try it. We had it. We tried it on air, and Mike and I were both like,
"It's okay."
Meh.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. It was just kind of like there's nothing to it. Like you put it in, you're not tasting anything. Mm-hmm. And I always say, look, I'm not going to judge it on my first one, right? Let this one sit. I'll try another one in a minute. I try it again, same thing. And for me, like I can taste. Like most time, like I'm tasting alcohol. Mike we always joke about the musty taint, which by the way, it was like from a YouTube episode we saw one time, and I had to send it because this chick,
she had a musty taint.
Like the word she was using to describe this shit was, I'm like, how the fuck do you know what that smells like? Like she was talking about like rusty barrels.
Well, it's like when somebody says this tastes like shit. Really? Have you tried it?
Right.
What do you mean? Like, but like. Here's a funny thing with the old fashioned. So we built a bar in my house. Like I told you, I love Jameson. I had an endorsement with them with the radio station for a while. I have a grill that has a Jameson logo on it. They gave me this awesome Yeti backpack, which is one of the coolest things we have. We take it to the beach everywhere we go. There were people that offered me like a couple $100 for the backpack, and it has a Jameson logo all over it. So they sent me a bunch of different Jamesons to try, but. Again, being one of my favorites and kind of my go-to if I'm out and about, it's just something I like. But I also went to try some more expensive whiskeys and bourbons. And one that I ended up falling in love with was Whistle Pig, the 12-year-old Whistle Pig.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, depending on where you get it, I bought a bottle down Ocean City after I had my big 100K hit, my first, like, 6-figure hit gambling. And so we went into my favorite place to eat down there, and now I'm Liquid Assets. And so as we're waiting to get seated, I'm walking around. I'm like, I just bought a couple of like expensive alcohol, saying, all right, I'm going to take this back. I'm feeling good about myself. So my wife, one of her traveling nurse friends comes to stay with us. Sweet girl, love her to death. They wanted to make old fashions. So I'm like, look, you help yourself to anything you want in the bar. I didn't think I had to say like the stuff that's on the top shelf, it's there for a reason. And I don't care if you like it, it's fine. But they wasted like half my bottle of Whistle Pig making old fashions, which you would say, okay, I watched them make it. There's so much maraschino cherry juice in there. It's like, you guys are just making it so sweet so it works for you. So it was a little frustrating to say the least that they wasted most of my bottle.
I would be pissed. I don't think you don't make a old fashioned with expensive whiskey.
No, I think you need something mid tier. Like I like Maker's Mark in an old fashioned. Yeah, so I do. I like it in an old fashioned because again, when you're adding in those brandied cherries and some other things, it just kind of works for me. But any of those bottles that are in that $40 to $60 range, I think are pretty good for an old fashioned.
You need to hang out with our buddy Jared. So he's the one that kind of, when we first started doing this, he would kind of give us pointers and tips. The problem is he gave us pointers and tips toward Maker's Mark. And I would try it. We've talked about this. I need to go back and try it now that we've done this for a while, just to see if now I like it.
Well, you have to. Like, you kind of have to. I'm not saying Maker's Mark is this great thing. Like, if you have hair on your asshole, it'll put hairs on the hair on your asshole. Yes. But it's basically so. But I do like it. It's like, it's very simplistic. I know there's like some people didn't like the strong aftertaste. When we were kids, we were taking shots out of a trunk where the Maker's Mark had been sitting out there and it was warm as could be. So yeah, it wasn't all that favorable.
The one, and I just blanked on that. Now, I want to try the Maker's Mark regular, the one I had when I first started doing this, when Jared gave it to me. But I heard like the Maker's Mark 46 is pretty good. I've also heard Maker's Mark is either like you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
The one I need to go back to is Jameson, and this is why I think I've talked about this like 6 or 7 times. I tried Jameson at a buddy's house, and I thought it was great. And I didn't think to ask him which one. He just said it was Jameson, so I was like, no problem. I go to a bar. I'm like, okay, they got let me get a Jameson. I tried it. It tastes like shit.
Did you make sure they actually use Jameson and not like...
No, yeah. I mean,
because there are a lot... No, but you'll go to a bar, like it's happened before, like if you order a Red Bull and vodka or something, and then they have that crap that's on tap that's not really Red Bull, but it's flavored like it, I guess. And then you look at... like I've been to bars where it's like I ordered Jameson and they don't say anything to you because they don't want you sitting here looking around. They just want to get you a drink. Yeah. They just get you whatever Irish whiskey's there, whether it's Tullamore Dew or something else comparable.
So we were sitting down. Right. I mean, we were, it was 5 of us. We were sitting at, it's a place up the road. It used to be called Shooters. Now it's called Copper Creek.
Okay.
Good food, by the way. But I don't want to disparage the place because I'm not saying this disparagingly. I like going. It's an oddly set up place though. Mm-hmm. So it used to be like a pool bar where they had like 2 or 3 pool tables set up. Well, they took I think they still have like 1 or 2 pool tables in there. But they've got like this area where they kind of do like their theme of the night. So it's like either karaoke or it's karaoke or they got live bands or whatever. Something is usually going on, right? But then you got like some mirrors on the wall going on one side. There's tables in the middle. Then you got the bar over to the right. Like it doesn't it's almost like it's trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
But trying to be everything to everybody. But we go, it's a nice place and it's usually not a whole bunch of people. It's not crowded, so I don't get I get a little antsy when I'm around a lot of people. And I don't like going to bars to begin with, but it kind of freaks me out when there's a lot of people in a place. I don't know why. Yeah, go figure.
No, but I mean, look, I love concerts, and then we get there, and I'm looking at all the people, and I'm going, ugh, this is going to be a pain in the ass to get out of here.
I have an issue where, I'll kind of get, spacey a little bit. I'll be there, and I'll kind of all of a sudden realize how many people there are. And I, okay, I think and then I just get uncomfortable. And I'm like, okay. I'm the worst person to go to concerts with. My wife loves going to concerts, though. So, luckily, she's got some good friends that live locally around that'll go to see her favorite band with her, so I don't have to go.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes. I will pay for the tickets if I don't have to go, right? Not that we don't share a bank account, but I was like, I'll pay for your friends' tickets. Just go. Have a good time. But so with the Jameson, though, no, I don't know if they gave me Jameson. I also don't know if it's a place that wouldn't give you Jameson. Because it is a small place and kind of local, but maybe that's the type of place that would do that kind of thing. I really don't know. I'm not in bars enough to know. All I know is it tasted way different. I tried it again at another place. Same thing. And so I went to my buddy. I said, hey, what Jameson do you have that is tasting so much different than the other? And he said, it's just regular Jameson, man. So I'm like, I am wondering, maybe I didn't get Jameson when I ordered Jameson, right?
I mean, there's that possibility. I've seen it happen so many times. And I don't know if you saw the thing in Nashville where the bartenders, they have all the ticket slips at the end of the night for the people that, remember, they take your card first. And if you walk out on your tab, they've already swiped your card, so they have it. They automatically add 20% in tips. And the lady they walked this ticket, these tickets, all the way out through the front door. There was like 150 of them that you're adding 20% to every one of those tickets. So it was adding up. But like I remember being there in a couple bars in Nashville, and depending on what you asked for, if they didn't have it, they would just pour you something else that's similar to it and see if you complain.
Yeah, I get that because when you got that many people in a place and they're all ordering stuff and you're just trying to get drinks out, I get it. You do it. Speaking of trips to other places like Nashville, you recently went across country.
Yeah.
You didn't go to Vegas. You went to San Fran, though.
So we went to, all right, so I won a trip on FanDuel's baseball live final. It was kind of weird. I had this issue with DraftKings where I tried to change my limits and I was trying to increase them. And what I did was I ended up somehow changing everything up to how much I could play in a month instead of how much you could deposit.
Okay.
I mean, I don't need to say the number. I mean, I don't mind saying it. Like I can deposit up to $20,000 to $25,000 a month if I wanted to gamble.
Good Lord. Okay.
Yeah. And what had happened was it got turned into where I could only play or bet $25,000 total for the month. So I got into an argument with like my handler at DraftKings, and I'm like, "Look, man, this isn't my fault. Like you guys, I texted you asking about this because there's sticklers to everything when it comes to state regulations with what you can and can't do. So once I said it, I couldn't change it for a month. So then I told them I'm taking my money across the street, and I went to FanDuel. And then immediately when I went to FanDuel, I hit for a bunch, and then I won a ticket to their live final, which is worth like $18,000. You're supposed to get $5,000 back. They send you $1,000 for a trip. They give you little stuff here and there. It's like, hey, here's $150 for travel expenses, like renting cars and things like that. Or if you're taking Ubers. So yeah, I won the trip to Napa. I took my wife. She just happened to be off that week, and it was perfect. We went out there. I'll say this, like Napa's awesome. We went to a castle. All you have to do is go castle in Napa, and you can look it up. To me, after all the great wine we tasted at different places we went and all the great things we saw, that was like the Planet Hollywood of vineyards. You know, like you get to go into a giant castle that's been built. There's new music that's being played as instrumental, like with I don't know, like a quartet or whatever. You hear violins playing whatever Lady Gaga song or something. You know, so like it's kind of it's cool. The food was good. They have a torture chamber, and you walk through this castle, and it really is. It's built like a castle. It's built like the castles in medieval times. But
in case you just want to take a break and get freaky.
Yeah, right? I mean, I guess so. If you want to get down there and you want to get in the torture rack, hey, what's going on? Lex Luger is not down there, by the way. So we got to experience all these things. The one thing I'll take away from this, so first off with food, if you ask me the 10 best things I've ever eaten, 5 of them happened on this trip.
Really?
Like the food was off the charts. I would love to, like, look at me. And if I'm going somewhere, there's 2 things that I have to be able to have. I got to be able to be connected with my sports and watch, even if we get away for a week. You know, like I got to be able to find games to watch and just settle down because it's my comfort zone.
Yep.
And the other thing is the food has to be good. I don't even care if the alcohol is terrible. The food has to be good. If the food is trash, I ain't never coming back. And the first place we went to was this. We got a burger and French fries. Might be the best burger and fries I've ever had. Went to a French restaurant. My wife got this like tomato soup where it's the only way to kind of explain is they bake dough over the top and it's like that croissant dough.
Okay.
So it's flaky.
Yeah.
And you dip into this soup with the croissant. Dude, it's like, and it sounds so silly. I had this basic spaghetti dish and it's the best spaghetti I've ever had in my life. Wow. And then, we kind of bounced around, went to a couple different places, but the FanDuel Live Final, it really pissed me off because as I was looking at it, the Braves were in Coors Field, which that's like hitters on crack. when they get to go there. The Astros were playing the Red Sox, and they had a 10 total in that game, and it was hot. And the Yankees had, Giancarlo Stanton was super cheap, so everybody was going to play him, so I didn't. He homered. Juan Soto, a lot of people played him. He hit 2 bombs. Aaron Judge, a lot of people played him. He homered. So I stacked the Astros and tried to get different. And I knew a lot of people weren't playing Red Sox, but because that game was supposed to be high scoring, I took a couple shots with the Red Sox. Jaron Duran, great stolen base opportunity. He went 0 for 5. I played Vlad Guerrero, who was on an absolute tear, and nobody played him. Vlad Guerrero on that stretch had a hit in every game. I think he had a hit or 2 hits in every game except the game that I played him where he didn't have a single hit. And then, of course, like all the guys with the Braves, just like Yordan Alvarez hit a home run. Everybody had him. Jeremy Pena hit 2. Bregman hit 1. You know, like it was just, and then you look at the guys in Coors Field, Jorge Soler, the leadoff hitter for Atlanta at the time, hit 2 bombs. Yeah. So all the chalk hits, I didn't win anything, but like the experience was still really cool. Got to rub elbows with some people that you've been playing against and stuff like that. But then when we went back to San Fran, it was like so many great things and so many weird things, man. I don't know where to start with that. I guess we can start with the guy shitting on the sidewalk.
Well, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
All right.
You don't want to talk about shit on the sidewalk?
No, we're going to get to that because that's definitely what I want to talk about. That was the one reason why I brought up your vacation because I wanted to talk about the guy.
All that other nonsense.
Yeah. So the FanDuel thing though, the experience. Where was that? Was that in San Francisco or was that somewhere else?
It was in Napa. So we were in a place called Yountville, I think it was what it was called. And this place we were at in Yountville, like I'm telling you, every restaurant, every place you go to eat was amazing. There was a place that made their own. It was an American style, like what is it called? The type of bread that Egg McMuffins are on. English muffin. Well, Jesus, this is McMuffin, and I can't think of English. Anyway, so they made their own English muffins, but it was an American version of it, and they had these gourmet breakfast sandwiches. Like the sandwich was like $10, and you walk up there and you bite into it, you're like, holy hell, this thing's amazing. So there were all these different things to try. There were places to go. I mean, I thought FanDuel kind of catered to the guys that they knew and that they'd been there for a little bit longer. But that's about building relationships. But yeah, it was, like I said, it was a cool experience.
So the reason why I asked was I thought I thought you went to Napa for the trip, but then they took you guys to somewhere else because I don't think of gambling in Napa, right? Well, I think wine country.
That's what pissed me off is we got there and my dumb ass is sitting there thinking, oh, they've got all these rules. Like I should have looked it up, and this is the second time I've done this where I've traveled someone and didn't look if it was okay to gamble or even play FanDuel or DraftKings or whatever. Because you can clearly, like I can call home and have my son jump on my computer and put in a dummy lineup and then play it. But I don't want any risk of, like that weekend, you're like, what if you get caught and it's somebody else? Because you're technically not supposed to do it, but everybody does that. Mm-hmm. But there are also people that make up multiple accounts, and if you get caught, they're going to ban all of them. I didn't want anything happening to ruin my Sunday where I had a shot to win $500,000.
Right.
So when I get there and I'm like, I'm trying to put in a lineup, because I also want to practice on FanDuel leading up to it and watch what's going on, because you can find some trends, guys that are hitting like this. If you watch Dansby Swanson over the past couple of weeks, he's been on fire out of nowhere. So like people are just like, I'm playing him. I'm just going to play him every day and see what happens. And it just didn't. Those things didn't take when I got there, and I'm going, what the hell? What zone? And then I started looking it up, and I'm like, the only thing you can do in California is Prize Picks? Are you kidding me? This is shit. Like I couldn't do anything. And then all of a sudden, with the money in my account, I was allowed. I did play FanDuel. I was in San Francisco. I don't know how I was able to do it, but they inserted money in your account to recoup for like different travel expenses. So I was in my account. I tried to put a dummy lineup in. And I wanted to watch how it was going to go. And I was like, oh, it reserved that seat. So maybe I can do this. So I started that a little bit. But you couldn't gamble out there, period.
It's weird because I know there are certain... So their states have their own... their rules and regs. Some cities have different ones. So maybe inside San Francisco proper, you were able to do some of that stuff that you weren't able to do outside.
Maybe.
But I don't know.
Well, San Fran was the only place that I got to play. So maybe there is something there. Maybe I was close enough to a state line where... It picked, I don't know, like, because I know as soon as I get up 83, when I used to travel to PA to put in stuff on FanDuel, I mean, I'd get up past Shrewsbury and find that little rest stop, boom, I can put in whatever I want. And then all of a sudden you go a mile back, you can't put anything in.
Yeah, so I find it interesting. So with DraftKings, if I place a bet in Maryland, it's connected to one casino. If I go to Pennsylvania, or if I went to Ohio, like when we went to Ohio recently, in DraftKings, you have to re-log in, and it connects to whatever the local casino is there.
Yeah.
And so and it kind of reminds me. So like DraftKings, I guess, has relationships with all these casinos in each state or in each region, and that's who the bet's actually placed through. It's not placed through DraftKings itself, I guess. It's placed through that casino that they've got the relationship within that state.
It's interesting because, like, if you look here, there's a lot of places that are tied up with, like, for example, I know, like, just doing the stuff that I did with the Green Turtle, and I'm no longer with them. Bet Parks was linked to them. FanDuel has Live. Horseshoe is Caesars, I believe. What's the Bingo World was teamed up with Bet River, I think. So, like, again, to your point, that's typically what happens is the relationships with the sports books and the casinos. That's why, like, certain places, they want their brick and mortar, like the Green Turtle, they can't get to the app because if they're using the app, all the money's going to go to the sports book, not to your place of business. So that's the tough part.
All right, so you're in San Francisco, guy shitting on the sidewalk. Is that the first thing you see?
Not the first thing. So here, I'll tell you this: when there's a really bad homelessness problem in San Francisco, and I'm sure people have heard of it. No matter how bad you think it is, you have no idea. Like, when we were driving in, I saw a corner of a street where there were 40 homeless people just standing there, and you could tell they're homeless. You could see the tents across the street. They were all hanging out. I don't know if they're drinking, whatever.
This is a mistaken identity.
Yes, but yeah, exactly. But, like, I don't know about you. Look, I don't fear any of that stuff, and it's probably an issue for me because I don't, and I'm naive to it. But if you turn the corner and somebody grabbed your wife, smacked her on the ass, whatever, said something inappropriate, what are you doing there? You got 40 people that have nothing to lose? Are you kidding me? Like, it just felt really awkward. Other than the guy, I'll get to the guy shitting on the street, but there was a woman in CVS. I guess she was stealing stuff, homeless woman. The security caught her. She goes dead weight and drops down like a sack of potatoes, so the guy drags her out by her backpack. She stands up. She's screaming at him the whole time, screaming bloody murder. And then the guy basically picks her up by her backpack and slams her down on her head, throws her down. Look, very aggressive. I'm sure those people got tired of it. We didn't get to see all the things that went on with that. But they kept asking that lady to get up and leave. And she went limp on the floor. We were walking through Chinatown, and there was a guy on the corner screaming, "I'm starving. Will you please effing feed me?" Kept screaming. And I said, "Hey, starving, my name's Jeremy. How are you?" No, I didn't do that. My wife and I switched to the other side of the street because I said, I'm not walking past this guy because he's just absolutely bonkers. And yeah, so like that was the big thing. So I could have stayed there and people watched after that dude shit on the sidewalk. Just because you don't realize until you're out and about how many people are just into their phone and they're not paying attention to what they're doing. Yep. There was a dude in like full on business suit, like looking the part, like he was ready to go out. He's going to make some trades down there. He's got his stocks going. Like he's ready to roll and he's on his phone and he was so close to stepping in it after this dude dropped trowel because he wasn't paying attention. And it was almost like Big Daddy when they throw the stick out there. He's like, come on. You're waiting for someone because that's going to ruin your day. Not only did you step in shit, you stepped into homeless person shit.
Well, does it really need to be classified as homeless person?
It just feels weirder, man.
I think it would be odd. I think the worst part, it's human shit. Like dog shit, we've all stepped in, right? Mm-hmm. It's fun. It's not fun. Nobody likes it. But now if you step in human shit, I feel like it's just different.
It reminds me of, so when I was delivering pizzas, one of the guys I work with, we worked next to this place. It was a signage place. So they would like letter your car, if you had a box truck, whatever. You wanted a racing stripe, you wanted whatever. They could do all that stuff. We had a bad homeless problem around the pizza shop area, so they would come back there and they would always drop a squat and take a dump like behind this little business strip. Mm-hmm. So there's like 6 businesses there. It's a little strip, but it's an area that's, I guess, private for them, and you don't see a lot of people back there. But all the businesses take their trash out. They go out the back way. So one of my coworkers sees that a bum took a dump. So he pokes it with a stick, and he starts wiping it on the handle of the guys in the sign shop. No. And I went, that's so effed up, man. But I couldn't wait for the owner, he was a little flamboyant. Like, you know, he'd hiss at you when he was young. What are you doing? Like, a little flamboyant out there. So I'm sitting out back, and I'm like, oh, my God, he's going back in. It's going to happen. He reaches down and touches that handle, and he's like, what the? It's shit. And he just starts losing his mind. And I'm going, oh, my God, I think a homeless guy wiped shit. He went and found the first homeless guy he could and started kicking him in the ass.
Oh, jeez.
Because he didn't know if it was him or not. But my coworker's the one that put it on his handle, the doorknob there, which was disgusting. But, yeah, like the dude dropping trowel, you'll see it. There are people, I mean, there's just homeless people everywhere. And, like, we went to visit Alcatraz, which, if you're looking at it, looks like it's out of a movie, which it has been, but it's ridiculous. It's an island where they had a prison, and they took some of the worst criminals there. But as you're walking up there, you'd think there were a lot of homeless people, but there's all these groups of, like, Hispanic people that are on the on this little strip, and they have their own little blacktop grills, and they're making, I guess it's like a sausage or a hot dog that's covered in bacon, and there's like peppers and onions, and then they have a roll that they put it in, and then they had 3 sauces there. I'm like, what are those sauces? And they're like ketchup, mayonnaise, and mustard. And I'm like, what the hell? I said, no, I don't want anything. He said, what do you want? I said, I don't want any of this sausage. Just give it to me plain. What do you want? I said, just give me ketchup. God bless it, man. And like the ketchup was sweet, but the whole thing worked. And people there were telling me, like, when they get drunk at the bars, that's where they go for their comfort food, because I was shocked walking down. I'm like, man, look at all these homeless people. I'm like, oh no, these people have grills and they're selling food. It was really good.
There's I wish I could remember the name of it. It's a YouTube channel. I believe it's called Kara and Nate. Mm-hmm. And they go and they do all these travel videos and blogs and whatnot. And they did an episode with street food. And I think some Asian country, and that wasn't the first time I'd seen it. There's some other vloggers that did that too. I think Anthony Bourdain has done that. They all those major travel type shows have done like the street food episode. Mm-hmm. They've all said it's some of the best food you're going to ever have.
It looks like, so I'll tell you what, we met a guy when we flew into San Francisco. We stayed at a little crappy hotel for one night until we got our rental car the next day and drove. And when we got up for breakfast at the Economy Hotel, you know, flipping over the waffles and your bowl of cereal and fake eggs and all that other stuff, we meet a couple from Detroit, and they were just giving us some pointers in San Francisco, and that was the first thing they told us about. He's like, you can haggle with them. I said, man, I ain't haggling over no guy with no sausage. They're out there working hard. They tell me it's $10. I'm going to give them $10 for it. But we bought fruit, and I kind of got rolled on the fruit. I didn't know if it was... I'm looking at it, and I'm going, all right, yeah, let's get the one with the cantaloupe, and it looks good. Fruit was great, but the whole middle was filled up with cucumbers. So you couldn't see it, and they were bitter as hell. So as soon as you open up, you're like, what the hell are these cucumbers doing in here? So did I just get rolled on some fruit? And sure enough, you did. But no, the food was amazing, man. Amazing. And... like, for example, there's a place called Salt and Straw. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I'm not familiar with the West Coast at all.
So they're based... I know they have... it's an ice cream place, and they make ice cream like honey chicken and waffles. They have a balsamic vinegar. They have a blue cheese and something. Like, it's all this...
These are ice creams?
They're very gourmet. So they have some, like, savory flavors, which... I mean, until you try it, it's different. You know what I mean? Like, I like the one with the balsamic vinegar in it. I tried that. I tried the fried chicken and honey, whatever it was. I forget what it was called. But ultimately, I ended up, like, I always go with something sweet and that's nice. And I tried, like, they had, like, what was it, banana pudding ice cream? It was really good. But so they do have, like, really cool stuff that you'd like. Like, there might be some white chocolate mix with this. And you're like, I wonder if that works. And that sounds really good. And then you're going to look at some and go, who the hell is eating that? But like Ghirardelli's based there, so they have a lot of like ice cream stands. They're known for Dungeness crab, so there was a lot of good dishes with that. But my favorite place we went to was a place called the Pawn Shop. So you're supposed to bring in something to pawn, and when you go into this place, it looks like a pawn shop. There's all this crap on the walls. You know, you're looking at things. So I guess you can go in and actually pawn things. So there is an actual pawn shop.
Okay.
But after the guy's like, he takes our reservation. He's like, all right, let me go over here. He hits a button on a wall. He pulls a book. Excuse me. There's a lever. He pulls that. The freaking wall slides open, and you go into this this tapas restaurant. And the best thing I ate when I was on the West Coast, I got pickled vegetables there. I didn't know what I was getting.
Ooh, I do dig some pickled vegetables are amazing.
So listen, this had zucchini, curried cauliflower that was pickled, broccoli rabe, and there was something else in there because when I took a bite of it, I went, "Whoa, what the hell is that?" That was sweet, and it had like that pickling sour, that vinegar. I'm going, what in the F was that? And then I start biting it and chewing it, and it kind of had the consistency of a pear. So I asked the guy, and then he went back there, and he's like, yeah, they're pickled pears. I ate about 10 of those things. And then I ordered,
you gotta be careful with that.
Oh, well, then I ordered another round of pickled vegetables, and my wife did not help me with it. So, yeah, I had some issues later that night.
Yeah.
But I would eat them again, and it was worth it. That's how good they were.
So growing up, there's an... I'm going to have trouble with the translation of it. Because I know some Armenian words, but I don't know how they translate because I was only taught the Armenian word of things.
Do you want me to you can tell me the word. I can translate it for you if you want.
Well, the problem with this is, though...
I was just going to make shit up.
So. I don't know how to spell any of it either.
Yeah.
So, like, my dad was fluent in Armenian. And not that he would talk to me in it, I'm not fluent in it, but I learned some things along the way. But a lot of the stuff growing up, I didn't know English words for because I was never taught them, right? So, there's this, it's a Armenian pickled vegetables, and it's called tushi. Like your butt.
No, I'm going to have to look it up.
It's very similar to like Italian giardina, the pickled vegetables that Italians do, but theirs is more spicy.
Yeah.
Ours is more bland, very vinegary. They're really good though, but it's celery, carrots, cauliflower, peppers, and some other stuff, and then they put like the sprigs of dill. Armenians love their dill. It's our thing. I don't know why, but I don't know the English word for this, so like I can't go to a store and ask for it. So if I ever want it, I've got to ask my aunt back in Massachusetts to say, hey, can you get me some? Because I used to go to my grandparents, and I would ask them for it, and they would find it for me. But there's also like a translation. It's like a lamb meat pie. Not pie, fuck.
It's like a meat pie?
It's not pie, though. It's like, think of like crispy... flatbread, thin, crispy flatbread with a lamb pepper spread mixture on it that is then baked again, or it's baked like that. I don't think you can call it lamb pizza because it's not it's not a dough crust. It's like,
but I mean, you're trying to give an explanation of what it is.
But in Armenian it's called lamajun. Like, so that, like, I don't know like English words for some of this stuff, and like if I went. And, like, if I try to write that down, good luck. Because I don't know how to spell any of this shit. So, like, I can't find it locally. So, like, I got to go back to Massachusetts. My aunt she'll go get it. She'll ship me a box of it. And then, because I'm the only one that will eat lamb in my house.
I don't like lamb either.
So
I'll eat it, but I'm not a fan of it.
It's probably, like, coming out of my veins because I grew up on the stuff. But just a unique dish. But yeah, I guess I brought that up because you were talking about the pickled vegetable.
No, and look, it was great. The other thing I didn't tell you was, so we went to these like wine tastings, and I was tired of wine after 2 days. I mean, we had so much effing wine mixed in with my edibles and everything else. It was like, what the hell's going on out here? So long story short, we go to this place. It was a wine tasting. It's $100 a person, and you got what was called a butter flight. Now, anybody knows anything about flights, it's like, I go to a different brewery or something, and I get a flight of beer so I can try the sour, the port, all the different things. There were 3 different butters that came out with this amazing bread, and the butter was unbelievably expensive. One of them was like sheep's milk, there was cow's milk, and then there was a salted one that they had. It sounds so stupid because you're just sitting there and you got bread and you're putting butter on it. You got some crackers and different things. And one of the best things I got there were these, they give you a bag of these Spanish white truffle potato chips that are kettle fried. Best potato chips I ever had in my life. Oh my God. I told my wife, I said, she was saying that there's one similar to Trader Joe's. At Trader Joe's, we went there and got it. It's really good. It's not the same. It's not even close. These chips, we looked them up online. And my wife was trying to buy, I guess it was like a 12-pack, and it was going to cost over $100 or something ridiculous for these small bags. And I'm like, did you order it? And she's like, no. They were so good, but like trying these butter flights, they also gave you like this really thinly sliced cheese that you could put on the bread. So you got a butter flight and this cheese. The cheese, as soon as it hit your tongue, it just melted.
Wow.
It was that thin, and it was just that good. So, again, I'm not trying to be some know-it-all. Like, I love trying different foods and things that, going and seeing different places. And but like, this was one of those trips that I just can't get out of my mind because I couldn't wait to go out to eat the next time because we went like going to Chinatown. My wife ordered a bunch of different like dim sum. So we're eating all this stuff, and she goes, for some reason, I'm going to try these green beans. It's like, who the hell just orders green beans? Like, I don't know. She ordered them, best green beans I ever had in my life. Like, I may have eaten 3/4 of that plate because they were so good. They had like this chili sauce on them.
Were they Were they fried green beans?
No, it was just like they were. They're pan fried. Not
Okay,
like
okay, but not with the batter.
no. It was
Have
just
you had
pan fried, so it softened them up like a little al dente. But the sauce that they put on them was just so effing good, man.
Have you ever had fried green beans?
Yes.
I think they're great.
Who was it? Was it Fridays that introduced that for a while? Where they had like the avocado ranch sauce you dip it in?
I want to say it was P.F. Chang's is where I remember having them, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
Because they had like that kind of chili sauce on them too.
You know what? I think maybe both of them had it.
They probably do.
Okay.
I mean, one probably just did it with an Asian flair. The other one did it with an American flair or whatever it is. So out in California, when you were out in California, when you told me you were in San Francisco, one of the first things, and then you told me about the guy shitting on the street. One of the first things I thought about, so I dig some of these like vlogger guys that go into like different areas that normally people won't go to and check out. But you know, he had heard of all the homeless situation in San Francisco, and he was like, you know, I've heard from some people that it's not happening. I've heard from some people it is. So he goes, I wanted to go check it out for myself and figure out why. And so it's a guy named Peter Santinello on YouTube. And it's really long form videos. I mean, you're talking like for a video, he's doing like an hour and a half. Some of them are almost 2 hours. Now, generally though, if it's getting that long, he'll split them into parts. Mm-hmm. But it's him going into like certain areas that most people aren't going to or don't even have access to. So, for example, like he got into Amish country. Mennonite country, and he makes sure he gets approval to go in first because some of those communities are not open. I mean, they're open, but they're not. Like you go through, like if you go to some parts of Amish country and you go and you drive through or you're in there, from the time you're in to the time you're out, you're being followed by somebody.
I'm going for Rumspringa.
There you go. Which, by the way, wasn't there an MTV show that talked about that?
There was a movie.
Like a documentary movie?
The kid, what was it, the Sex Drive?
I don't remember.
Was it Sex Drive where they went to Rumspringa where he was supposed to meet this girl and he had his brother's car and they break down and Seth Green's in it because he plays the Amish guy that fixes the car.
This was like an actual documentary about it. I think
really?
It was on MTV. Yeah, and it followed like 5 kids that went
the
on
Amish
the
Mafia?
Well, that was a different one. I had an Amish phase that I went through. Not that I wanted to be Amish, but I was like really into it, trying to figure it all out. But so he goes into some of these areas, and he went to San Francisco, and he was a Californian, he grew up a Californian, and he wanted to see it, and so he went, and he's like, this is real, and he was talking about, and he would go find like the social workers that would try, or the people that were doing like the needle exchanges to go, like so he was talking to people who were actually in like going to the homeless encampments to try and help the people there, and he was like, it's sad, but he's like, if you're a resident here. Like, you want a safe place to live too. He goes, you have empathy for these people that are living on the street, but you also have your own wants and needs. And it's like, where's the balance? What's the balance here? What it is? And so it was just an interesting thing. So when you said that, was the first thing I thought about.
That's why I think it's difficult. Like, when people would say, how liberal are you? Like, when it comes to certain things, like, okay, what if you're in San Francisco and you've got homeless people in front of your house that are just loud, obnoxious, filthy, doing all these things? Are you calling the cops? Or are you trying to help these guys out? Are you trying to get them back on their feet? What are you doing? And the weird thing is, because it's so much cheaper to do public transportation, light rail, cable cars, buses, doing all that stuff, there's a lot of homeless people that are just jumping from one stop to the next. So you're on a crowded ass bus and it smells like urine. I mean, some of the guys, they haven't showered in weeks, maybe a year, who knows. And then again, you don't know what their mental state is, because you get some people and they're yelling. And only one time we had like cops or people come on to check to make sure that we had tickets and access. And the only thing they do is they kick you off at the next stop if you don't. It's not like they're going to take you in or anything.
And they probably get on the next one.
Yeah, right. And they just jump on the next train or light rail or whatever. So there was a lot of that. And the other stuff is like you'd see him eating weird stuff. Like there was a guy at a bus stop that was eating a birthday cake. And I don't mean like a piece of cake. It was almost like he went into a grocery store and it was like half off this cake that they made that nobody bought. So he got it. And he's just eating it with his bare hands. And I mean, like, shoveling in his face like he hasn't eaten in weeks. Had cake all over his beard and icing on his face. So,
well, you know the saying that it's like, I'm a liberal, but
yeah,
and the but is NIMBY, not in my backyard.
Yeah,
like you're always hyper. People can be hyper aware of stuff that's happening far away from them. It was always like the old joke about prisons. Like when they were going to build new prisons. Oh yeah, we need more prisons. This is back in like the 80s. We need more prisons, more prisons. Okay,
well, in your backyard.
How about in your county? Oh no, not there. No. Put it by the
elsewhere.
Put it by the peasants.
Somebody else's county.
Put it by the peasants.
Yeah.
We don't want that over here. And that I mean, NIMBY was the saying I heard a lot growing up. And it was just, how liberal are you?
Yeah.
Like you said.
There was, I think it was, I don't know if it was SNL or a comedian that was doing that, which it's true. Like, I don't care, like, how supportive you are of this or that. Once it starts affecting you in a negative way, you're obviously going to say, hey, man, I don't want any parts of that. Like, it was really weird being in San Francisco and having empathy for these people, but also going, I don't want to be around them, man. I really don't. I got my wife there. Like some of the guys too, they're just, and it's almost like they're looking for something. So you'll get the guy that just stares a hole through you and you'll look over like, is something going on here? Is he just a little off?
Yeah. But I didn't mean to turn it that way.
No, I'm just saying it gets like, even myself, I consider myself to be very liberal about things, but the fact of the matter is, like I felt uncomfortable with my wife out there in certain situations when we're on a packed bus and you can't move, and I'm sitting next to a guy that's talking to himself out loud.
Mike and I have talked about this when we get into politics stuff, and this really isn't political, but we always say, like, we're two liberal guys that have no faith in the government to do the liberal things that we want them to do. That's basically, like I would love universal health care. I don't trust our government to do it properly without paying off their buddies. It is what it is, right? And then, but I love the idea and the concept, though. And I think everyone deserves health care. But we have a government that hasn't exactly shown a level of competence to do some of this stuff, and it's not the people on the lower levels, right? Yeah. I'm not talking about the day workers in government. I'm talking about the politicians.
Well, you also have certain politicians. Yeah, they're in bed with a lot of the pharmaceutical companies.
They gotta get paid.
It's so if you look at the left, I think you would say, I know we want to get political here. They're in bed with the pharmaceutical companies. I mean, you can look at some of the things that have gone on. You look at the right and you start talking about the NRA and all these other things and who's throwing money their way. And no matter what you can do, you can be an honest politician and you get to a certain point, you've got to make business decisions for yourself and everything else. And that usually means selling out to the cause.
Well, we've talked, if you ever look at like the campaign financing stuff, those companies you mentioned, they don't donate to one side or the other. They donate to both. They're hedging their bets. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the old, infamously, Henry Ford, who built cars back in the day. Well, during World War II, he built stuff and gave money to the United States government and to the Nazis. He played both sides of the war. But he wasn't the only one. A lot of those rich oligarchs, that's the right word, sorry, did it. And they've done it all through history. But and they're still doing it now. Like, is there a solution to the homeless problem? Probably.
Do you trust these people to get it done? No.
Well, or is it going to grease the right palm? Does the solution grease the right palms to actually get it done? Because there are some very powerful people in this country that could get it done tomorrow.
So it's, what's funny is, like, in my line of work, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. I'm definitely not going to get myself in trouble for this. But please don't. No, but you hear certain things, and like there's always that aspect of how do we make money off of this, even when it comes to charity work. And it's like, okay, we can help them make money, which is really good, but why can't we make a little for ourselves? And then like I've been in rooms where I go, that's not what this is about. Like, and the problem I see is when it comes to homelessness, how are they going to make money off of it?
Yeah. Well, a lot of pro athletes, they have charitable foundations, when in reality they're just tax shelters.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to figure out a way. How can I get this money from this rich sports owner, and how can I get paid without getting them and get the least amount of taxes taken out? Oh, I'll start a 501c3 in my name, and sometimes the 501c3 is getting paid by the organization. Now it's not taxable. It's wild.
Wow.
There's a movie called The Laundromat on Netflix. And they go into fairly good detail about how rich people hide and launder their money from taxes. And the funny part is like people like us, we could argue till we're blue in the face about how much in taxes we're going to pay. If the people actually in this country just paid what they owed, the rich people, like I get it, they pay about 70% of the taxes already. Now imagine if they got taxed on everything they actually should.
Yeah,
it'd be wild, right? But okay,
look, so, you're going down a different path, and
we were talking about vacations.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you had a really good time. The food stuff sounds amazing.
A lot of good scenery too. But the only thing I'd say,
it's beautiful.
So my back was giving out on me. So my wife and I were getting in fights because everything you would like the places she wanted to go, we would go uphill to go them. So we're walking all the way up there. And then we would get out, and I'm like, all right, how do we get back? She goes, oh, we got to keep going up, and then it takes us back. I'm like, how's that possible? It doesn't even make sense.
Right.
We just keep going up. I felt like I walked the stairs of Machu Picchu twice trying to go to this one place we were supposed to go to, and I got to another point, and I saw another flight of stairs, and I looked at my wife and said, I'm done. I'm not going in. This is it, because we have to go back down all these stairs we just came up. So a lot of walking.
For an out-of-shape guy like myself, stairs are rough.
Yeah.
Especially that many. Outside with the sun beating down on you, too. The sun hurts you.
Oh, man.
You don't even realize it.
You're waiting for a bus. You're waiting for this. You're out in the sun. You're sweating your ass off. And then you got to go up all these flights of stairs. Yeah, but there were a lot of cool things that we saw out there. There's also sea lions right on the water there. You can go out. There's like 50 of them. And what they said was, I guess they were being chased by something, found refuge here. And then they just like, hey, there's plenty of food. Nothing's trying to kill us. So now all these sea lions stay there and they're like basking out in the sun. It is kind of cool because they just keep fighting each other and barking at each other and knocking them off these little like floating pallets, if you will.
I thought that was going to go a different way when you said they were running fast. I thought you were going to say one got eaten.
No.
When you said they were running.
Not there, but no. But it was kind of cool. Like I love animals. We went to the aquarium. It was just okay. But yeah, like that trip. It's another one. So I went to Jamaica and then I went on this trip, and there are 2 trips that I could definitely see myself going back on again. I enjoyed it that much.
I do want to hit back on the gambling part of it. So you did the FanDuel portion of it. Would you go back to do that portion of it again? It sounds like it was funny because it sounded like you not that you didn't enjoy it, but you liked that part the least.
Yeah.
Because of how good everything else was. But
if I'd have won money, I'd have loved that part. But like when I saw, it's just frustrating when you get to a championship and you're looking at it and you're like, I know where everybody's going, so I'm not going to go that way. Mm-hmm. I can pick my spots. And when that chalk hits, like Giancarlo Stanton was 2,900, which is extremely low, and he had just came back off the IL, and everybody was playing him. I had a guy sitting next to me that was screaming about like, oh, it's such a great play, and I'm like, everybody's playing that cat. It's not a great play. He homers late in the game. Got a dude over here celebrating. Some guy had hit 6 homers, and he was in first place winning $500,000. He goes, this is life-changing. And then the damn Coors game hit, and then all those people passed him. He still ended up winning like $75,000 or something, but I didn't even stay to see who won the $500,000. I can look at it, and see. But like, I was so pissed off. I was just like, let's go eat. Let's go somewhere else.
Well, now that you're back, though, you're back in town. You've been back for what, about a week or 2?
A little bit, yeah.
So you're getting, and for people that don't know, one of Jeremy's main jobs is to make money via gambling. Like, you are a professional gambler, I'll say.
Yeah, you could. It's weird saying that, but yeah, I do that. That's.
I mean, you handicap and make bets every day. To me, that is a professional gambler. Mm-hmm. You're more than the guy guessing.
Yeah, so I'm.
you're putting in work.
I'm good at what I do. I'm still not at that point where I trust even myself enough to say, "Hey, I don't need to work a job anymore. I'll just do this." Actually, one of my buddies, when I was in San Francisco, one of the guys I worked with on You Better You Bet, when I would fill in on that national show, he stepped down because he wants to become a professional gambler, and this is what he's going to do. And I'm like, man, that must be a really cool thing to say, but also a scary as hell leap to take.
Again, it's very similar to a professional poker player.
Yeah.
Right? It's a scary leap to take. You've been very open about your past business relationship. It's in the past. I don't want to rehash it. Your new site is now up and running.
ConcreteLocks.com.
There we go.
With two N's. Obviously it's a play on words.
$20 for a month, $200 for a year. If they want to get in, they just go to the site and sign up now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If they do the monthly or the annual, it's what, 5 picks a day?
Essentially, so I put out a lot more than that, and I was explaining today. So I buy a football algorithm, I have a baseball algorithm, I buy PFF, which that's like $180 to get their matchups and breakdowns, which I like reading, although it's not the end all be all for me, but it really is entertaining and does help with daily fantasy and gambling and player props. And then on top of it, I have my weather algorithm that I use for baseball. So like I'm putting a lot of things in that I spend for, and then I give the results to people. So you have that value. And at $20, I think that's just worth it. But at the same extent, yeah, I do. I give out my top 5 plays. I give out leans. All the picks I put out, I bet myself. But anybody that's coming on new, I say just focus on the top plays. Just bet them. Like if you want to bet $25 or $20 on each one, over time in my top plays, you will accumulate and you will win money. It's just a matter of like, the problem is there are some people that sign up and they see those big numbers when you go 5-0, and then guys are like, I just had a guy, he quit, or he's like, hey, I'm going to take some time off after my hottest week of the year, and I'm going, why are you taking off? He said, I had a bad week. I was like, what were you betting? Like the plays are that what like you're taking time off. What were you betting? Like, please tell me so I can at least try to help you in what you're doing, because if you're going to come in and expect to hit a 5-team parlay every day, you're sadly mistaken.
Well, this is a great example of this. So I joined a little while back. Not that I'm a big gambler. I'm a small-time gambler. I've said this many times. I do $5 a bet.
Yeah.
Right? And so what I was doing was I would take your 5 plays. I'd do my $5. But then and this is where I was going to talk to you about bankroll. Mm-hmm. Because what I do is I get stupid. So when we talked about this, because I texted you, so you had mentioned round robin, so I was like, all right. So then you had a couple like 4-in-1 days, and I round robined them.
And then you hit.
It went way, but then I kept round robining them. And so the 3-2 days, you're going down.
Slightly, yeah. That's the hard part. You got to go 4-1 or 5-0.
If it's a 2-3.
If you're 3-team parlaying, if you're 2-team parlaying and you go, you win 3 and lose 2, I think you make a little bit of money or you break even depending on the odds.
So I was doing the 5-pick round robin.
Oh.
Yeah, I was taking all this. I was like, we're going for it.
I do it on occasion when I feel really good or if I'm on a hot streak.
But so it was funny though. So with the regular 5 picks, anytime it was 3-2, which was most days. Well, 3-2 or over. I'm not going to say 3-2 is much. It was. They were like in 1 month there were like 2. Maybe 3, 2-3, 1-4 days. So I didn't see an 0-5 day, but
I had one this year, 1 0-5 day this year, and I had, I think 3 1-4. But like again, it's really weird when you're talking about this and how you do it and go about it. Like for people to understand what a round robin is, it's basically like going into the Maryland lottery and you're boxing your numbers, or if you're horse racing, you box the horses so you get them every which way.
It's dumb as fuck, is what he's trying to say. And which is why I did it, because I was like, "Yo,
I love doing it though."
Look, I am that guy. I love. Again, I'm doing these small $5 bets, so for me to do it, it's pretty low risk, high reward out of it.
I'm getting ready to poison your mind with something. I shouldn't even tell you.
I swear, don't do it.
So, what's really fun is round robining home runs. I don't even know if robining is a word, but you take a round robin of home runs. So the day that I had 4 out of 5 home runs, and I bet it really small, but the payouts are ridiculous because every home run is like, even if you're taking Ohtani, a lot of times he's plus 200, Judge around there plus 180. But Kyle Schwarber hit 3 bombs the other night, and it's like he was plus 270 at that point in time. Or you get a guy that's plus 600, you parlay a plus 600 with a plus 300. The payouts are ridiculous. So, but again, it's very tough to predict home runs.
Yeah. I remember there were a couple times. So I kind of got onto Jackson Holliday's hot streak when it was like 7-1, 7.5-1 at the time. The guy, I'm an Orioles homer, and that you know, they were one of the teams that were hitting the most home runs. So I would kind of always go to them, and with the guy who had always had the lowest ratio was Santander, and he was usually like 3.5-1. 2.5-1 some days, but it was mostly 350. It basically was 350, right? Plus 350.
Yeah.
But it could have been like plus 280, plus 300, that range. But Gunnar was generally in the plus 400, plus 450 range a lot of times.
Early in the season, he was like 5-1 in a lot of games.
And I mean, I think he'll get in the plus 350 range, but which is amazing. The guy's got almost 50 home runs, and they don't have him in that plus 180 range. So I would generally do Santander, Gunnar, and like 2 other Orioles. And for a while, it did really, really well. And then I just stopped. I was like,
if you got out at why the getting was good, that's probably the right way to do it.
Well, plus I realized I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. So I'm gonna take this lucky streak because I'm not a professional. I'm having some fun. That's the way I look at it. But it was. When I see your write up every day, and I'm looking at it, and it makes sense to me. It's just I find it fascinating the amount of work that goes into it.
I don't think people know the half of it. I'm not one of these jokers that opens up the spreadsheet and sees, oh, this team's favored by that, so I'm taking that. There's a lot of times where I can look at a slate and I'll go, I bet I'm going to be on them today, and it pans out. And there are times where I think I'm going to be on somebody and I'm not. But like, you know, it's funny you mentioned that about the write-ups. I had one handicapper that I talked to when I'm just picking guys' brains about the business and how they go about it. He told me don't do write-ups because then it allows people to judge you on what, like, so if I write up that I love the Red Sox today and their bats are going to go off and it's going to be an over, but let's say the team they played scored all the runs, I won my bet, but my process was wrong. People don't care when you win your bet, but it's still not what I want. You know, winning the bet is the thing that you're aiming to do, but I want to win it by doing the right process and looking at games the proper way.
I think it's good to show the work, just because it gives me something to look at every morning. Like I read another shit. I'm not gonna lie. You know, it's where my best reading happens.
Is that why you asked us not to wear pants today?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. This is a pantsless zone right now. But I go in there and I read it, and I like reading it. I mean, I don't use the daily fantasy stuff in there, but I know why you put it in there. It's because I noticed recently you started putting in the top 5 home run guys.
Somebody asked me to do it, and then I get concerned about that. Was it you?
Because at one point in time, DraftKings was putting out bounties on home runs. Like, they were boosting home runs.
Well, you may not have been the only person. There were a couple people. And then, of course, if you notice now, I put the team by the guy I'm predicting hit a home run. Because one of the older guys was like, hey, I don't know all these players. Can you tell me what team they're on? It makes it easier for me. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Well, that's like with the WNBA games. You sometimes, like, I feel like, I almost think they're hockey. But I know hockey's not being played. But when I see like Dallas, I'm thinking, oh, hockey.
Yeah.
No, it's not hockey. Or I see Wings.
It feels like weird writing Wings.
Right. But I look at Wings, I'm like,
dinner?
What sport is that?
Yeah.
I don't even know what sport. Is he betting soccer now? Like, so no, I like reading the write-ups. But, and the other part of it, and I kind of texted you the other day because I was listening to a radio show, and I don't want to say where it is just because they're all over the place. And it's these guys they're selling picks, right? They're selling their pick service. And hey, you call us, you press 1, you get the play of the day. It's 100%
I'll say it, those jokers are on our airwaves. I got no problem saying it because I told you that. And sorry to interrupt, but like I've yelled about these guys for years. When I was working with Anita Marks, we had one of these clowns on, guys that pay to be on. And what they do is they sign a deal to be on for the entire year. They pay for the first 2 months, and then you realize that's where they're going to get a bulk of their subscribers, unless they just have some wacky week where they get a bunch of people signing up. So they eventually don't pay their bills and bail. They come back the next year, they take their money again, knowing what they're going to do. But these guys change their name. Yeah. They do the stupid New York accent. Look, we got inside information. And they're throwing out things like the other day I went 1-5, and I could have easily went online and said, hey, hit my first play of the day. It's my biggest play. I had Milwaukee. They won. I went 1-5, and I picked a team that was minus 180. I don't feel great about that day. Or 1-4, excuse me. Yep. So, like, these guys are so phony, but we had a guy coming on our show, and he predicted a certain game. And I'm like, oh, I'm on the opposite side of that. And he goes, hey, kid, let me tell you, I know what I'm doing here. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I've been doing. I said, I gamble too. Yeah, but I've been handing. I'm like, okay, you think that's going to happen? I bet you this happens. Sure enough, I was right. He calls back in the next week, and this will give you an idea what goes on. He calls back in. He goes, hey, you remember last week? I told you so. I said, no. You picked the other team. You were dead wrong. No way. I was on the Chiefs or whatever. And I said, that's interesting because here's the sound from last week. Played it for his ass, embarrassed the hell out of him. And what that tells me is he doesn't know what he's picking because he's telling one side. He's telling the East Coast to take the Chiefs. He's telling the West Coast to take the Ravens, you know?
And the funny part is that he's going to be right to half the country.
And then he's going to feed off of those guys.
Right. And so it's an old tactic that that cell phone and cable companies use. Once they get you in the door, 80% of people will never switch.
Yeah.
It's a hassle, right? It's very similar kind of with the gambling picks. They're going to sign up. They're going to do, especially if they do monthly, because even if they stop gambling, they'll forget it. It's like Netflix. You pay for Netflix, and it's $12.99, $12.99, and you forget.
So here's the other part of that, in which you're 100% right, because I've had 10 people this week come up to me and say, "Hey, I'm back for football. What's going on? Like, I paid for your picks. I've been paying for." There were some people that supported me. Yeah. And paid and just like bought a year, and it was just routinely coming out $20 a month, $20 or $15 a month, whatever it was back then. And I had a guy hit me up today, and so I gave him a free year and free plays just because of what happened at the old site. So I'm honoring everything that went through at the old site, even though I'm not making that money. And the weird part about it was, like, there were so many people that did it that are now canceling on him, but that goober that I was partners with was making. Let's say it was 10 people. That's $150 a month.
Yeah.
When you're doing nothing, and they stayed there because of me.
Right.
You know. So, and I'm not trying to be some conceited a-hole about it, but like when it comes down to it, that relationship. I mean, I'm still super bitter about it, and I could go on a freaking tantrum right now and talk about this douchebag. But
we'll save that for another episode.
We can. I mean, I've already told my wife, like, I said, just have bail money ready because I don't know that I can control myself if I see him, and I mean this like. I'm not trying to be some tough guy, but I will absolutely see red when I see that fucker.
So before this show, we were talking about a situation that I've had, and for people that don't know, episode 174, go listen to it and you'll find out exactly why. When I see certain individuals, I just see red.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that happen to you when you feel like you've just been wronged so badly by someone you trust. It's worse when it's someone you trust. It's worse when it's someone you know. Because then you feel like you got stabbed in the back. And whatever that thing is in the brain, I can't seem to turn that off. I see red and I can't turn it off.
So I don't know how much time we have. Like, I'll give you the brief synopsis here. So what happened with me was, and if people know my story, months ago when I tried to kill myself, I was suffering from depression. I'm still suffering from it, and I'll probably have it for the rest of my life. Things that I didn't even expect to happen when I hit my 40s. Hey, you're 40. Guess what? Your prostate's oversized. You're going to piss 7 times a night. You're not going to sleep. You know what? Oh, you're pre-diabetic, so you got to watch what you're eating there. Your cholesterol's going through the roof, Chief. And guess what? Your brain doesn't work the right way. So when all that shit started happening to me, I gave my business partner a great control of the company so I could focus on the gig with the Green Turtle. The Green Turtle stuff blew up in my face. And I don't even want to get into it because honest to God, I love the people over there at the Green Turtle and the guys that hired me. it's just the business didn't work out, and as bad as it sounds, I was the one that got the short end of the stick on all of it, even though there were a bunch of people that lost money because of, you think about all the things I've done. So I give my business partner control of the website. He has passwords. He pays me the money because the money's going into an account for his LLC, which is why he was telling everybody it was his company, because he's sending me money. No, that's my money, and I tell you how much to send me. That's not how that works. So he knew everything I was going through on a personal standpoint. He knew about like the depression. He was like the only guy I was talking to. And for somebody to know that you're going through that, to try to approach you and to try to make money off of your depression. He wanted me to start doing a weekly podcast on depression and for our listeners or for all these people, and then try to sell that to companies. So I said, man, I'm not trying to make money off what I'm going through. I'll talk about it on any, I'm an open book. So when all that came down, to find out the next morning after we got in a huge fight the next day, he changed all my passwords and lied to all my customers. Yeah, it pissed me off, and I wanted to go after him, and I started to. I hired a lawyer. I lost $1,200 in legal fees because he's like, look, we're going to get your site back. I don't know how long it's going to take and how much money you're going to have to spend to do it. So the hardest thing for me was to swallow that pill and just let that ship sink, which it's going to, because he doesn't know what the F he's doing. Just like it almost feels like he got a win on me to a degree, but in the long haul, I know what's going to happen, and I know who he is. But that's why I was so pissed off about it, because, again, I lost the Green Turtle stuff. I ended up losing my website. I just paid $5,800 to get my website, the new one up. It looks great. So now, like, all the money that's coming in is just going to pay for the site.
Yeah. But eventually, I mean, long term, it will work itself out.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, people want to support you in that endeavor, right? And now you're in sole control of it. And so, look, lessons learned. Even though you've learned the lesson of it,
because you got to deal with them too for a little bit, because we were talking about different things.
we were going to make money off your mental health too.
Yeah, that's what we're doing now. Hey, call 1-800-STUPID. No,
well, listen, Mike and I have said this before. Pfizer, if you're listening, I will sell the fuck out. Yeah. I will say this shit is sponsored by Pfizer for the right amount of money. Right? I mean, it was funny because when we started working, I had reached out to you. You put me in contact with him. Mm-hmm.
Because I just had so much on my plate at the time. It was hard for me to deal with any of that stuff.
But I want to say it was maybe 2 months later is when I texted you. I was like, hey man, I can't do it with this guy.
I didn't know what was going on, and you were the third person that had texted me that, and then he got into a fight with the people at the radio station when we were trying to set up advertising.
Yeah, I was, because at that point we weren't really thinking of doing anything together. I was I was under the impression I was there to help him set things up.
So honestly, God, one of the reasons why I'm here and jumping on the podcast with you as much as I'm going to is because of that situation. You were trying to help us get our YouTube set up, trying to get everything set up to where it's moving in the right direction. And it felt like Ryan used you for all the things that you could get from you, learning all these different things. And all of a sudden, when he got everything he needed from me, he was like, well, piss off. I don't need you.
It seemed like that way. But in all honesty, when we had talked, I was like, hey, look, I'll do whatever you want me to do. And then when he came time, I felt horrible. I was like, hey man, I think we're going to bail because of him. And you're like, the funny thing, the first message you sent back was, don't worry about it. He can rub people the wrong way. Mm-hmm. And then I think it was like a couple months later is when it all blew up. And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, it was wild, man. And one of the other reasons why we got you on here too is to kind of go a little bit more forward with that whole kind of not just you, but setting us up with a podcast that we can grow into the future mm-hmm. with. Because that was part of the plan initially when I talked to you. Is like, I think this is where you can really move into. I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah. I mean, you gave a lot of great advice with things we can do, and I'm the type of person when I see somebody is giving their time and effort, and for lack of a better term, going out of their way to help me with something that maybe minuscule to you, like, oh, I didn't do much. That's kind of what I tell people. Like, hey, man, you helped me so much. It's like, I didn't do anything. That's how people are. A lot of times when they are willing to help out people and use their own time to fix things or push you in the right direction. So, like, I appreciate those things.
I just had a good time with it. I loved it. Like, just because for me it was fun to learn it. And then I don't know if you remember. We had a guy on here, Luke, who does a therapist, a Buddhist, and you, another podcast, and we help him get set up too. But I met him years ago with some TV stuff that I do, and so it was just fun for me to do. Mm-hmm. I felt horrible when he did that though. I was just like, wow, like not surprising, but wow. Like I didn't think he would go to that level.
Yeah, so like my wife heard us, we were fighting in the living room. So like the other thing that he did is he created a Twitter account called concretelocks.com or Concrete Locks, the Twitter handle. And then he was trying to do some partnerships with, I guess, OnlyFans models, like people, influencers, things like that.
Feet pics.
Yeah, well, so that's what happened. He got with a financial dominatrix and he sexually harassed her with her thinking it was me. And then she sent emails to a radio station trying to get me fired for sexually harassing her.
Jeez.
But she sent it to the wrong radio station, and it somehow ended up in my agent's hands. And here's the only life-saving thing, and anybody that's ever listened to me, because he's like, my agent calls me, he goes, hey, I got to ask you something. He goes, did you sexually harass some woman on Twitter? And I'm like, the hell are you talking about? No, I'm like, you're never going to see me say anything inappropriate to women at all. Like, it's just not who I am.
Right.
And so it's funny because he's like, well, apparently there's some woman that says that you asked her for feet pics and she wants to get you fired. And I'm like, can you send that to me? Like, what? And he sends it to me. And immediately when I see the Concrete Locks Twitter handle, which I didn't even have the password to, it was Ryan going back and forth, basically pretending to be me. Jeez. And then he did. He asked the woman for feet pics and she got really pissed off. And I think my agent never told me. I think she sent a letter to 98 Rock trying to get me fired. But it was just like, it's just typical stuff like that. So I forgave him and moved on. But then we get into this part where I'm sitting in my living room and he's like, I want to change the name of the website. And I'm like, no, it's my website. He goes, what do you mean it's your site? I said, well, look, it's my site. I gave you a portion of the company, but I own the majority of this, like, well, a good majority of it.
Yeah.
So I make all the decisions when it comes down to anything. So I told him, I said, look, this relationship, this isn't going to go anywhere with all this stuff, all the things that have gone on. We got to figure something out. I don't want to talk right now. And I hung up on him. And then he kept sending me texts, hey, bro, please call me. I'm like, no, I'm not calling you. I'm done with you right now. If I call you, it's just going to be more of me shouting at you and wanting to punch you in your effing face. And my wife just heard me screaming from the other. She hadn't heard me talk like that in forever. Like, I just saw red. And when I wake up the next morning and I'm going to sign in, I'm like, the hell? What's going on? Like, because I was going to post my plays. It was right before the first day of baseball season. Like, are you kidding me? Baseball is my number one sport, and you cut me out right before baseball season? So on opening day, it's when I was talking to people, and I just posted my plays for free. And then started to set up the other stuff to get this thing rolling. But yeah, man, there's scumbags. And gambling is one of the scummiest worlds you can get into because all people are going to do is take advantage of you.
That's a wild story. I love hearing the story because the story is fascinating. I don't love the outcome of it.
Well, look, it took me a while to get to this point, but I'm way better off right now than I was before.
Yeah, I think so. And not that matters, man.
Yeah.
I'm like the Fraser. If I'm over here being Fraser Crane, I'm listening. Yes, you are better off. I know for sure. But look, if you do want sports gambling picks, go to concretelocks.com. That's CONNCRETE locks.com. Sign up. Me personally, I like the personal accountability that comes with it. If you don't hit, you say, fuck it, I had a shit day.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll tell you if I think I was on the right side and got unlucky, or if I just had a shit day. It's like, man, I don't know where I was on that pick. It just didn't go our way.
I was going to get into bankroll before we got on, but okay. We're already one out. We're an hour 23 in. We're going to do that another day because I feel like that's a huge part of gambling that that people don't realize.
And I'll be here for plenty of shows too. So
and to be honest, I mean, when we had talked about it, I think we had planned on you being here for most of them. The summer schedule sucked. So it is what it is.
With my contract and with everything else, I told you I can't like fully commit to say I'm a part of this show, but like we talk all the time. You and I text, and it's like, hey, are you available today? Yep. All right, well, let's do it that day. If you guys are going to record that day and I'm available, let's make it happen.
Yep. And frankly, it's been a great time. I know. I think Mike's actually upstairs waiting.
Is he? So he's like, what the hell are they talking about now?
I thought I heard him come in. I thought he would have just come down. He's actually texting me now. All right. We appreciate you listening. TacMD.com. That's Adam Chubbuck's website. TACMD.com. He's with Douglas Realty in Pasadena, Maryland. If you're buying real estate in the Maryland, D.C., or Virginia area, and I need to actually find out. I actually think he's licensed in some other states as well. You need to give him a call. At the very least, even if you don't want to use him as your agent, give him a call. He will give you the best advice in this economy that he can give you. He's an ex-military, ex-Navy. Just one of the most genuine people that I've met. And I know it's like, oh, he's a sponsor of the show. You got to say that. All right. But he's genuinely a nice guy. We don't partner with people that aren't genuine, down to earth people. I can't stand salespeople. I can't stand people that are phony. And we won't take their money. I know we joke that, if Pfizer comes in with a huge check, we'll take it, and we will. But as far as like the sponsors that we have as a small show, we don't deal with phony people. I know that people trust the recommendations that we make to them. So if I'm saying that you should go to Adam and talk with Adam, you can trust that he's going to do right by you. And that's all anyone can ever ask of someone in that industry, is to just put the customer first, and make sure that they're being put in a good situation. So go to TacMD.com, talk to Adam. Hopefully we'll have him on a show here in a couple of weeks. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share on all the platforms that you can, and we'll talk to you soon.